Welcome back to the Cricket Betting Podcast, the only podcast which tells you exactly what happens in the biggest cricket matches around the world. I'm Ed Hawkins. This episode is brought to you by 7bet.co.uk, a fresh sports betting brand that offers such features as early payout, bet builder, betting insights, ACCA boosts, and more. Go to 7bet.co.uk and experience world-class betting yourself. There you go. We've got a sponsor. That's good news, isn't it, Paul Krishnamurty? How are you doing?
Absolutely, yeah, very good news, Ed. I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I've seven bets only just recently come to my attention, if I'm honest. But they're very good. They're a very welcome addition to the market, offering lots of markets on the cricket, very wide range. And I mean, I noticed in particular they've gone up a lot earlier than most firms on many of the Ashes side markets, such as top bowler, top bass, cricket score, that kind of thing. Whereas a lot of firms are still just going on the outright winner.
Yeah, we're going to have a look at some of those in a bit. But we've got to say hello to Richard Mann, delayed this week into your ears because Richard's lungs have not been great, but he's you're looking in reasonable fettle, Richard. But great to have you back and cheered by some winners on the Telegram channels over the last few hours.
Yeah, the last 24 hours been brilliant. Actually, perked me up no end. Terrific unders result wasn't it, in the Bangladesh game. So that's all been good. But loads to look forward to now. It feels, excuse the pun, but it feels like Ashes fever really is. Every week there's another story, isn't there? So it feels like it's bubbling up nicely now for the big winter.
Indeed, ready to burn. Those VIP Telegram chat tips, you can subscribe to those in the comments below. I think last time we were on, winners at 15 to 2, 2 at 17 to 2. Big chunky old play on sixes in that India versus West Indies test, which we thought was going to get beat, but got up at the last. So don't miss out on those. As I said, we've got Ashes stuff to talk about. The games we're covering with best bets. I should have mentioned Paul's best bets, 38.3 up. So you would be mad to miss the best bets. Those are free. So stick around for those. They can come at the end of the show. The games we are looking at for those are New Zealand versus England in the first T20. We've also got Australia versus India. We've got no prices on that in a second ODI, but we're going to give you an overview. We've got teams, ground guides, win rates for players, strategies, and nuggets. But let's start and celebrate that 7bet tie-up by having a heated Ashes debate. 7bet for the series, go 18 to 25 Australia, 7 to 4 England, and 38 to 5 the draw. Correct score prices 3-2 the pair, 32 to 5 Australia, sevens England. We've got 2-2 correct score at 37 to 5. Of course, the big news is that Cummins is likely to miss the first test, probably the second. Richard, how's that impacting your series thinking at the moment?
Well, I mean, it's massively affected the market. England now 2.96 on the exchange to win the series. I think they were 3.5 a week or so ago. So the market's definitely taken note, and it's a big blow for Australia. It's not one I'm surprised about. I mean, I've said for a while that is basically an early onset stress fracture of the back. Australia have got to play it so safe. If he plays in the series, I don't think it'll be much at all. And you've got to remember that the last home series that they won against England, Cummins was the leading wicket taker on both sides, and he missed a game through COVID. That's how good he was in that series. Wasn't quite as good in the one in England a couple of summers ago. But up until Headingley, he was still Australia's best bowler. They played the world final before that, and he just ran out of steam. But I think when you look at that attack, Hazelwood injury prone, Boland is getting on a bit. That seems to have been forgotten. To lose their best bowler, their captain, he's won them a World Cup as well. He just it screams a little. It's a big blow, and then you're going to have a captain coming in and out as well. It screams a little bit of chaos. And England, oddly, for once, are going into an away series. They look really settled, don't they? I mean, the top 6 or 7, we kind of know what it is. Bethel maybe comes in for Pope. But other than that, they look the stable outfit at the moment. For all, look, I'm not underestimating what a big challenge it is winning away from home in Australia.
Yeah, as Richard said, the noise is beginning to um, get in your ears a bit about this series. Stuart Broad has said this is the worst Australia since 2010, of course, which was when England won there. But that's a bit like saying this is the worst Man City team since 2010. A football analogy for you there. Please don't at me if you know. I know what it's like having an opinion on cricket, on football. That could be completely wrong, but it's similar to that. Australia is still a pretty good team. Paul, are you like me? I want to kind of put my fingers in the ears at this kind of all this bits and pieces coming out every other day about what's happening in the Ashes. Nervous about putting too much store in, you know, prices being cut by a half a point here or a point there, particularly with series winner or series correct score. I'm on a long, drawn out contest such as this, 5-test series, still weeks away. I think everyone should just try and relax a bit, or are you different to that?
Well, look, I've missed the price, definitely, on England, and there's a lot to be wary of. There's a history, there's Australia at home. You might remember this time last year, well, just after, India won the first test, and we were talking up whitewash to India, and they didn't win another test. Right? Australia are formidable, always are at home. But I do agree with what Stuart Broad's saying. I mean, this is a poor side. Apart from a few key players, the top order is very weak. It has been weak for some time against a number of teams. Smith is still a formidable batsman, but he's not what he was. Khawaja is definitely not what he was. Labuschagne's been out for ages. And as we've discussed on previous shows, I'm down on Travis Head at the moment. I think he's had a poor year. So that's a weakness. Losing Cummins takes something away from their biggest strength, the bowling. You know, were something to happen to Stark or Hazelwood, they would be very light on that front suddenly, and that would be evened up. But I think if we look just at the batting, England have definitely got a stronger batting lineup. I think they've got an outstanding middle order. I think England have got, if the pitches are roads, good batting pitches, as we might expect, then England have got the tools to make very big scores on this. I would say at the moment, if I was looking for a bet right now, I would look at 2-2 at 37-5, and I'd look at 3-1 England at 11-1. I think we will get results, but there's a good chance to get one draw. And as I did during the India series with England to some success, I think it pays to back 4 results rather than 5, just to give you that chance to cover later in the test. And if there is a draw, if there is a rain-affected draw.
Yeah, I should probably mention it could be the battle of the physios. Who can get Cummins out on the park, and can England keep Stokes on the park? Asterisks by the name of Hazelwood have got. Be surprised if Hazelwood plays 5 tests. England, of course, not going to be playing 5 tests with Archer and Wood and Cast. They're going to be rotating those quicks. That's the whole point of taking all these players. They're not going to be playing 5 tests. They expect that. There are series top bats and bowler markets, as you mentioned at the top of the show, Paul. Just a word on Boland, 62 wickets at 16.5. It's not a bad replacement for Cummins. Let's not forget that. It's 11-4 and a very good record against Australia. So 11-4 top Australia series bowler. Line at 5-2, however, I think we could be pretty sure on these markets, top bowler, that he's going to play all 5 tests. So is that the value, Paul?
Yes. Well, I prefer 23-5 top series bowler, both sides. He's going to play all 5. As you say, England are going to rotate. He's definitely Australia's trump card. The other one I like, well, just a little bit, not so much, but I think 9-1 about Ben Duckett is a reasonable price for top series batsmen. So I say I've got my doubts about the Australian lineup. I think backing an opener always is an advantage in case they get one or two extra innings than the others. And, you know, he's a lot bigger price than Joe Root or Harry Brook.
I've got a note on Labuschagne at 8s for top Australia series, but perhaps with Cummins out, they're going to return to experienced players that they trust. And Labuschagne's been in incredible form in domestic cricket, tons all over the place. Richard, what have you got?
Yeah, you've read my mind. I think we've got to get ahead of the game here, and I think we've got to back Labuschagne top Australia series bat, anything towards double figure. What you got to ask yourself is Labuschagne in Australia's top best batsman in the country. He absolutely is. Does he have a strong record? He absolutely does. Does he have a strong record against England? He absolutely does. The one problem has been form. But domestically, he's got dropped for the West Indies tour, and then domestically, he's peeled off 300s in his last 4 innings for Queensland. So form is back. As you say, I think they're going to look for experience. I think he'll either open or bat number 3. He has to be in that top 3. And suddenly, he's not an 8-1 chance, is he? Because we know that after Smith, who's about 15-8, by the way. He's probably their second best player, technically, anyway. So I think that is just a must bet from a value point of view, because the way they're talking, I've been, listening to Andrew McDonald this week. All they wanted to see is a bit more intent from Labuschagne. All these lovely sound bites. It sounds like he's very much going to slip back in. He won't be an 8-1 shot, 10-1 shot, whatever he is, come the start of the series. I disagree with Paul a little bit about Lyon. I think Stark's rock solid for this. He's a bit of a beast. He's unlike Hazelwood and Boland as well. He's getting on a bit. I think Stark can play 5 games. He only played 4 in that series in England a couple of summers ago. He was still the leading wicket taker for Australia. He was just a beast. And we watched that West Indies series, and he seems to be getting better and better and better. I don't think the pitches will suit Nathan Lyon. If you look at the cricket in Australia over the last couple of winters, and we'll have to wait till near the time, but the pitches have actually done something for the seamers. So I'd want to be with a seamer. I think Stark is rock solid, like you said, Ed. Hazelwood, unlikely to get through the series or play all the games. I think just on a wider point, I probably should have mentioned the pitches are crucial to England's chances, because for the first time ever, England want to go and have flat pitches in Australia so the batting can blaze away, whereas they've gone in the past and wanted Anderson and Broad to be able to get something out of the wickets. This role's reversed now. Australia have probably got the more experienced canny seam attack, and we've got raw pace. So flat pitches would suit us. We'll blast them away with the ball and blast them away with the bat, but I mean, you think even that Pakistan series, or when Shamar Joseph blew them away at Brisbane, the pitches have done a bit. So I'm not saying they'll definitely be the same again, but I'm fascinated to see how conditions line up, because I think England are a conditions-based side.
Yeah, I agree. I was saying to Paul the other day, actually, I thought, do Australia actually produce flat ones? Because they may reckon that England's bowlers, when the Kookaburra ball stops moving, rather get disheartened, and they've got nothing to go to, because they certainly don't have a spinner of note. So do they go down that route, or do they produce something more fruity to try and take on that England batting lineup? This is kind of the problem with betting, so far out. We're obviously going to have a greater indication of what these pitches are going to be like, much closer to the time. Of course, we've got day-night tests as well in Brisbane, which is good news for the start bet.
Absolutely. No, putting yourself in Australia's shoes, you'd probably bank on Labuschagne and Smith grinding out scores on tough pitches more than you would bank on Crawley and Duckett doing that. I'm not putting Root in that bracket. Obviously, he's a proper player, but it is a real conundrum. Probably the most fascinating aspect of sort of pre-series for me, because I think we're all in it. Even that last test of the summer at the Oval, England have been great in that series against India, but it did a bit, didn't it, at the Oval, and they blew a winning chance. I think they were 1.01 shots down, weren't they, on that penultimate day? So, really exciting, loads to queue over.
Good. We'll get our games on in a second. Just time to tell you about the 0% margin feature at 7Bet Sportsbook. The 0% margin feature at 7Bet is designed to offer betting odds that do not include the typical margin added by the bookmaker. Check out more of their features on 7bet.co.uk/features. So, as I said, New Zealand versus England in the first T20, Saturday, 07:15. TNT Sports is your TV channel. This is our first game. We've got the Kiwis at 11-8 with Betfred and Sky Bet. 8-13 England Power and Betfair Sportsbook is at Hagley Oval. 12 T20 internationals there, an RPO of 7.8, 7 first innings under 160, 4 night games, 3 won by the side batting second. That mini trend or interesting little snippet is kind of blown away by but in domestic T20, 7 of 10 night games have been won by the side batting first. Paul Hagley, any ground angles for you at this stage before I get onto the teams?
Yeah, there were quite a few actually. I mean, out of 11 games, 7 went to the chaser. So that's a significant advantage. And we saw some very low scores here. 5 of them were under 150, which is very rare these days at this level. And if you look overall, 9 out of the 11 first innings were sub 180. Now, I'm not sure. I don't really like to predict where this is going to open, this par line, but I think it'll be close to 180, especially if England are batting. It generally is in their games, generally is in New Zealand games too. So it's probably an unders game from the start.
Okay, New Zealand, last 10 games, by the way, with the bat, 165 with the balls, so against they're conceding 131, averaging 6.4 sixes if your angle is working out, which is the most powerful batting team, where England averaged 9.2 sixes per game last 10, and they are 181 and against 178. Let's give you some probable 11s. Let's start with those Kiwis. Conway, Seafoot and Robinson, absolutely crucial at 2 and 3 because they are their power players. Then it all gets a little bit potentially stodgy with Ravinder, Chapman, and Mitchell. Chapman's on a dreadful run, not getting any runs at all and certainly not striking it well. Bracewell, Neesham or Fawkes, the all-rounders, Santner, the skipper, and then Henry and Duffy, excellent new ball pairing. And you could argue that is where New Zealand will look to work an angle. I think they probably have the edge in terms of new ball pace. England, Butler, Saltbrook, Bethel, Cox potentially holding on to his spot. Sam Curran, I'd like to see Rahan Ahmed. Whether he plays or not, we'll see. Joverton, Rashid Lukewood, and Sonny Baker. Richard, who wins the match? You make a case for those Kiwis at significant odds against T20?
I did against Australia recently, and I have to say I was a little bit underwhelmed. I thought they were just outmuscled in that matchup there, and that's where I think England will probably have the edge here. New Zealand are always the wrong price, really, aren't they? Continually underestimated, but I do think England have got a bit too much power here. Interesting side story is that England are clearly using this tour as a prep for the Ashes. I know it's white ball stuff, but they've said as much. Key, McCullum, one eye on the Ashes, so it'll be interesting as the games go on how people will slot in and out. I suspect Bethel, for instance, is going to want to get plenty of batting time, isn't he? Because they're going to want to try and almost justify his place at number 3 for Perth. So that's one to watch as the games go on. But ultimately, I still think England too strong, even if they've got one eye on something else.
Crawley has snuck into this squad for some reason, which probably Richard's just explained to you, but it's just not there on merit for me. Paul, are you taking on England odds on?
Yeah, I'm inclined to. I mentioned the toss bias before. So I think if New Zealand chase and this price holds up, that would definitely be a good bet for me. I think with New Zealand, you've got to, if we're going to weigh them up, perhaps we should make an exception and say that, yes, they were poor against Australia, but then they frequently are poor against Australia. This is a long-standing tendency. And previously, they were outstanding in a series against South Africa, who have been really good, and Zimbabwe, you'd expect them to be. And, as Rich said, they are perennially underestimated, New Zealand. This is the first match of the series. England might be a bit underprepared. It certainly happened before, hasn't it? So I think, yes, they are a bit of value.
Nuggets for you, Richard.
I love England to hit more sixes, regardless of your view on the outright market. They're just far superior on recent numbers. You just keep going back, and the 4-5 with Cole and Ladbrokes. Excuse me, 2 old favourites, Seafoot and Butler in the power play performance. Sorry, particularly Seafoot. And if we think this pitch might do a bit, two keepers, they could really be in the game as well with against the new ball Knicks. Another one, it's a swerve at the moment, but one I might come back to in the series. I love betting unders on New Zealand's runs first 6 overs when Conway playing because he's such a stodger. And it was good again in that series against Australia. But I don't trust this England new ball attack right now. So maybe second game if they impress in the first one, that's sort of a play under 55.5, something like that. Conway he just takes forever to get going. But I am wary. I mean, Sonny Baker went all over the place, didn't he, in the summer?
He did. He was found out. Let's keep using that phrase. Such a stodger. That was terrific. Paul, anything to add?
Yeah, on the sixes, look, there's no lines yet. We're still early in the week and people haven't put all the lines up yet. But in the 11 match study sample, they've never gone beyond 11, which is so low for international cricket these days. So low. And as I said, they are generally high in England games. So keep an eye on that. Could well put something in the channel. Maybe, as Rich said, I mean, New Zealand are pretty poor on the sixes front. It might be a just go unders on New Zealand, but let's just wait and see where the lines are.
We do have six appeal, by the way. Our sixes record on the markets is bonkers. Paul's leading the way with that. Paul's got the six appeal, really. That's what we should be saying. Let's look at tops win rates now. And these stats are taken from after the last World Cup, now recognising that teams are beginning to change direction and get prepped up for the next World Cup. But Seifert 6 wins from 12, and he won last time out against Australia, 100-30 with 7-bet. That's the best price in the market that we can see. With the ball, these are win rates. Duffy, 46.6%. Good study samples on these, by the way. He's 100-30 with power, and as presumably Betfair Sportsbook and Sky but would follow suit. Henry has 3 wins from 9, less of a study sample, as Duffy winning 33.3% of the time. An old favourite of the show, 3-1 power, Betfair and Sky Bet. England top bat. It's the win rates battle between Butler 33%, Salt 36%, 13-5 power, and 10-3 generally, respectively, for those two. Paul, who do you like?
You said them all. You won't be at all surprised to hear me say Matt Henry at 3-1 with Betfair and Paddy Power. Absolutely huge price, top bowler, most reliable fast bowler in the game for that market. The stats and his form tell you've got to take 100-30. Tim Seifert with 7-bet. 50%, 50. He should be even money on those numbers you just said. And of course, he was excellent in the CPL as well. And Josh Butler, who hasn't won top bat for 3 games, so he's probably due. But even better than that, I see 11-2 on him for most sixes in the match.
And is that 365?
365 and Daff a bet.
Okay.
That looks way too big for my money.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure, because I looked at the stats earlier, that it's basically Butler versus Salt, and your averages for sixes per game last and very, very little in it. So that is a big price. Richard?
Yeah, Salt was favourite. Salt was 5-1. He's 11-2, so you could back both of them. But
yeah, I'm interested in this actually. Interested listening to that because I wondered about Salt. Look, he's had a great few games and that's fine. But I don't think he's come up against a quality bowler like Henry for a while. And when he came up against Hazelwood two summers ago, well, the back end of the penultimate English summer, he was found out a little bit, and South Africa didn't bring over a great side, and then he went to Ireland and smacked it about. That's all great. But this is tougher, and I would prefer Butler personally. High-class player, proven high-class player. And obviously Henry. Paul, you need to get some new material, but I think he's the man, isn't he? And have a look at those player performance markets as well. He just keeps on delivering. And Seifert as well, I have to agree. Maybe have a look. Some firms might price up. You might get a little double Seifert Butler in the top batsman. Related double. I think they both look particularly solid, and it might give you might get 12-14 to 1 or something. Someone might do a special for you.
Yeah, we will be on the channels with player performance markets, no doubt. Probably looking at the likes of Butler, although there's a lot of wicket keepers in this squad, and if England are going to start messing around, just be wary that he is the man with the gloves, but they could change that. 365 often very cheap on Butler performance. Luke Wood is a favourite of mine. You're probably going to be paying overs 20.5, and that will be cheap on his records. Seafoot will be cheap, and I think you're going to probably get a low quote on Matt Henry as well, probably 5 to 6 overs unders with him. Right, I think we can move.
I just forgot one bet. Sorry.
Go on then, Paul. Sorry.
Bryden Carth, top England bowler, 4-1 with Betfred. If you did that, if you took 4-1 in his last 8 games, 1 unit each bet, you would have 12.5 units returns. That's over 50% profit. And I know it's a different format, but I like the fact that Carth did so well in New Zealand last winter.
Good stuff. I think we can move on now. And just a reminder that we're still mining for gold with Crick Stats. Of course, Pod 25 gets you a deal on access to all the best data to make this game pay. Go and check out our sponsor 7Bet as well. Go and check out the comments section where you can subscribe to that VIP Telegram channel, which is making you money. You can also join up with our VIP chat room, and there's loads of chat and discussion going on there. And it's a really good community, and people are putting up their own bets, and they've got their own special angles as well, which you can tap into. And it's basically a community which basically shares the knowledge to try and make this game pay. So don't miss out on that. Our second game is the first ODI, Australia versus India, Sunday, Perth, the venue, 04:30. Start time. TNT is your TV channel. It's the first of 3. This one is a day nighter. We've got no odds at the moment, so we're going to give you a bit of an overview based largely on the stats. Only 3 ODI at Perth Stadium, unfortunately. First thing is scores of 259, 152 and 140. Australia responsible for the last 2, and they've lost all 3. Paul, ground wisdom difficult when there's no study sample, but we have seen this pitch in other formats. So a bit of a surprise to see it, some of those low scores in ODI, but there doesn't really seem to be anything in that. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely not indicative of a general trend. In the Big Bash and in T20s, it's a bit of a road, Perth. Obviously, it depends on the overheads in the pitch, and I can't remember those particular games, but it seems, looking at it, there was loads in it for the pacemen early on, and that has actually been the case in quite a few Big Bash matches over the years. Off the top of my head, really, thinking of Big Bash games, I always thought it was a better ground for scoring in the second half of the innings. So perhaps it could be a place to back the middle order.
I'll give you the possible 11s for this one. Loads of chopping and changing with Australia. I think they might go like this: Head, Marsh, Green, Matt Short, Felipe, Owen, Bartlett, Dwarshuis, Stark or Hazelwood. Are they going to wrap these guys in cotton wool after the Cummins news? We'll see. Ellis, Kuhneman. So there's no Zampa for the first game, but he should come back for the second. Josh Inglis, not back until the third. Alex Carey not back until the second game. So Felipe is keeping wicket in this one. So very much sort of experimental for Australia. India, Rohit, Kohli, Gill, Shreyas Iyer, Rahul, Axar, Reddy, Sundar, Harshit, Arshdeep, and then Siraj or Praseed. That's how I think they might line up. Richard may completely disagree, but my initial reaction, Rich, to that Australia chopping and changing, also what Paul's saying about that Perth pitch getting better, and India chases supreme with Kohli in there, is perhaps to take on Australia. What do you think?
Yeah, that was my initial inclination as well. And I think Australian cricket has just got that eye on the Ashes. This again will be a precursor to that. Extremely vulnerable. I've got this down as a low-scoring match as well. So just with that in mind, I'd want to be with the outsiders. I certainly wouldn't want to be piling into the Aussies at 1.8 or whatever it may be.
Just a word, Rohit Kohli opening the batting now and that, like that. It should be Rohit and Gill. Paul, 1.8 Australia, is that how you're pricing them?
No, not at all. Right, the one firm have gone up with this tonight.
Okay.
They've gone out on a limb. I was quite shocked. They've gone 1.64 India. Now, personally, I agree with that, but I was expecting it to be more like 50-50 or something. So let's just see. That might well change. Let's see what happens on the exchange. I personally think this is a very, very weak Australia side. They've really struggled in this format recently anyway, since the World Cup. And you look at their recent form, I mean, their best players in 50 overs have been Adam Zampa, Steve Smith, Josh Inglis, Alex Carey, all missing. It really looks a weak side. Slightly worried India might not be prepared, but it's a class side, isn't it? Very surprised to see Kohli there. So I guess he's carrying on. He'll be looking at the World Cup.
Rohit Kohli not played, by the way, since IPL. That is potentially an issue. Rich, just a quick question on that. I'll come to you with what else happens in the game in a sec. But, you know, India undercooked. Rohit Kohli coming straight in on a very potentially tricky one at Perth. No warm-up, alien conditions. A bit of a worry about the India batting.
Well, to be honest, I was more worried about the guys flying halfway around the world after this recent Test series, West Indies as well. You look at like Gill and Reddy and people like those, Siraj potentially playing. I'm not quite sure. That's a quick turnaround for them, but there's plenty of chaos in that Australia lineup as well, isn't there? That's just the way it is nowadays, isn't it? With the Barmy schedules, and we always have to factor that in when we place in our bets. You look at both sides, and it's certainly not a smooth preparation. But England had that in the summer as well, didn't they, against South Africa on the back of the 100? Get used to it.
Any nuggets, Paul?
Well, I think that, again, it's difficult because there's no market. So watch out for what we say in the channels here, because we will come up with stuff, I'm sure. But the obvious angle for me is that this Australia side is terrible against spin. You know, they were terrible against South Africa spin. So what are they going to be like against Varun Chakravarti and Kuldeep Yadav? So, you know, let's see where the run lines start. I've got a feeling it might be too high. So there might be a case of going unders from the start in Australia. But I would definitely be interested in going unders when the spinners come on around the 20th over.
Can I just
Rich,
dive back in right on the back of that point? Because not a lot of recent evidence, as Ed's pointed out, but the last ODI against Pakistan was low scoring. And if you look at a lot of Big Bash cricket here, it's a road, but the new ball does a lot. Admittedly, Perth Scorchers have had a brilliant seam attack for the last 10 years, but countless times that there's been 3 wickets in their power play, and then teams rally second half. Really short, straight boundaries, so it's hard work for the spinners because you get your length wrong, you disappear straight. Massive square of the wicket. So as long as you can keep the ball down when you're hooking and pulling, playing those horizontal shots, there's twos everywhere. With a feeling that the new ball will do plenty, 2 decent seam attacks. I think and it's all about the lines and how high they are, but I think you've just got to start unders here first innings. And then if you get in a good position, look to build that middle by then backing overs. That's my way in there. And even I looked at some T20s. West Indies, right, made 220 here last year, but they were 17 for 3 before rallying, albeit Russell smacked it all over. But the new ball can do plenty here. And with 2 batting lineups at short on cricket, that's my way in anyway. I'm going to start with an unders if the lines are really high, and then hope I can build a middle later on.
Okay, well, let's move on to player win rates then. Head's been a feature the last couple of shows, whether he's really struggling. He still has 6 wins his last 13 on top bat in this format, 46% start, 3 wins from 7, although we're not sure whether he plays. But if the new ball is doing bits and pieces, then he could make it 4 from 8. Top India bat, well, this is the old guard for you. It's Rohit, 35%. Kohli 26%. That's 2-year study samples looking at this India team. As I said, neither played. since IPL. Shubman Gill is a 4-to-1 chance on that 2-year study sample. So I'd say you've got to be getting 4-to-1 on Gill. Whether you get that, we'll see. There's nothing doing on India top bowler on the win rates. Richard, players to follow or swerve?
Well, Nathan Ellis, I think he's now the coming man in terms of white ball bowling for Australia. So many of those big stars starting to walk away. Interesting about India, Shreyas Iyer. His recent numbers are insane. Brilliant Champions Trophy, brilliant IPL. But the one issue he's had is against a short ball. So it'll be interesting how he goes here. I'll probably swerve him with a view to later in the tour backing him, because I do think he's probably India's best white ball batsman now, Shreyas Iyer. All-round package. I think he'll overtake Virat and Rohit before long. Interesting one is Nitish Kumar Reddy. Brilliant Test cricket here last year, and there was a lot of talk in this recent series against West Indies. We need more live game time for him. Give him a chance, and he didn't even bowl in that last Test match, did he? If it's a low-scoring match, which I've got a little bit of a hunch that it might be, someone in the middle order might play a bit of a rescue act on a ground that generally suits middle order batters. Think Ashton Turner for Perth Scorchers. I'm just interested to see what sort of price Reddy is. It's really hard right now. If he's chalked up at, say, 7-8-1 to about 6, I will obviously ignore. But if there's a bit of 16s, 20s flying around, then I'd have to have a few quid on him.
Anything to add, Paul?
That's my sort of theory too. I think you've got to avoid a top order here. For India, I'd look at KL Rahul and indeed Nitish Kumar Reddy, who I think will be a good price. I think you'll get good double figures on him, Rich. And for Australia, look, I just think this is a poor batting lineup. I remain anti Travis Head. He's going to be favourite, but I'd probably be unders on his run. But this could easily be won by number 7, number 8. I think you've got Bartlett and Ben Dwasher as those two in those two roles. There'll be huge prices. Dwasher in particular, not a bad batsman at all.
All right, well, it looks like it's best bets time. Just a quick note from 7bet.co.uk with some special offers that are offer now for betting £10 to get a £10 free bet using the promo code WFB10. First deposit is a minimum £10 stake, get a £10 free bet, minimum odds, even money or 2.0. Maximum winnings 100 quid is a 5-day expiry on that. Bonus terms and conditions apply. So that's 7bet.co.uk. Let's go to best bets. Paul and Richard both got 5 units to spend. And let's go to Richard Mann first, please.
Okay, kicking off the England game then. I'm just going to 2 points, England to hit more sixes than New Zealand at 4-5. That's with Colin Ladbrokes. Then in the India-Australia game, I am going to have half a point on Nitish Kumar Reddy, top India batsman. That leaves me 2.5 points, and these are going anti-post Ashes. So I'm going to have 1.5 points, Marnus Labuschagne, top Australia series batsman at 10-1. Unibet, that is standout. And then a point, Mitchell Starc, top Australia series bowler at 100-30. That's also standout Unibet.
Paul Krishnamurty.
Okay, 2 point, all on the England-New Zealand game. 2 points, Matt Henry, top New Zealand bowler, 3-1. That's Betfair, Paddy Power, Sky Bet. 1 point, Tim Seifert, top New Zealand batsman, 100-30 with 7Bet. 1 point, Bryden Carth, top England bowler, 4-1, Betfred. And then 1 point, Josh Butler to hit the most sixes at 11-2, Bet365 and Daffabet.
Lovely stuff. As I said, don't forget to get subbed up to those channels, your free tips channel, your VIP Telegram channel as well, and get all the bonus offerings on there. Don't forget to check out Crick Stats, of course, for all those great stats. We are going to be back next week as well. That's the major boost about having 7Bet on board. We're now going to be able to come into your ears every single week for the Cricket Betting Podcast. I've been Ed Hawkins with Paul Krishnamurty and Richard Mann. We'll see you then.